Hey guys, good evening, good evening. This is Spirit Journey and this is Lily, my Havanese dog. Yes, I have on my lap right now because she was like pouring me and she wanted it, affection, whatever. So I have her on my lap and in a few minutes she'll want to get down, but I want her to feel that she's special right now. Yes. Well, today is Friday, and it's the 29th, December 2017, and it's approaching 8 p.m. Well, this video, one thing, what I'm filming on, I am using my Panasonic camera, my GH4, but I don't have it attached to my computer. The last time I used I think it was yesterday, I did a video using my laptop as a connector, and I see that there was a big lag, the audio with the video part. So I want to try the recorder of the camera to see how it films, So I hope that everything's it's in sequence, the video and the audio together. So I just want to feel it out to see how it works and which one works better. Okay. So what I want to talk about today is going to be general talk and just some things that are of interest to me. And as you know, with the past few videos that I've been doing, that I'm interested in the super soldier phenomenon that's happening. I was first introduced to that concept. It was last year, 2016, late summer. And I really didn't, I was just kind of fascinated about this subject, but not really taking it seriously. But the past few months, this year, I just seem to have an interest, and I see how it's affecting me I'm a little more edgier, a little, today I feel a little edgy, and part of it, I was walking the dogs. Boy, they were resistant today, and the person behind me said, boy, I see those dogs are really, giving you a hard time. And I said, well, yeah, they just pulling mommy's chain, but they're really good guys. And yeah, she's a good girl, Lily. But yeah, they're good dogs I have. But I think part of that got me to feel a little edgy, how resistant they were. But I see that in this quest for this spiritual journey that I'm on, that the more I learn, the more that I experience, the more responsibility is put on your shoulders. And it's a burden, because you're hearing these stories. Again, I cannot really confirm its validity. But the fact that you're hearing about things that are new to you and that goes against your paradigm system is a little nerve-wracking, and I see that that's what's making me feel a little edgy. It's opening up a can of worms, especially if you were in a paradigm system and what you're learning or being exposed to is contrary. It goes against your belief system. And you have to, if you want this true spiritual awakening, you have to be able to say, okay, this is true or this is false, or this is in competition. And you have to, accept that. And as time goes on, you may be able to find out the validity. But the initial introduction to something new is going to ruffle feathers, and it could, it could awaken. It is a learning. And so I see that these things on the super soldiers is really, I don't know, I just feel compelled to watch these videos on YouTube about them. And the stories are all basically the same. Some videos give more information than others, or some give new information that you didn't hear before, So I'm sorry. So it's just something that I see that it's affecting me more. It's like it's opened up more and more, and I'm learning more. So each video seems to be reinforcing each other. So now you start to really learn what this whole topic is all about, because it's completely new to me. If people, let's say someone's on the bus and they're hearing someone talk about this subject, people are gonna think, where did these people come from? And again, 2 years ago, I never heard of anything like this before. And so I realize it's affecting me. And you better get grounded. When you get any information, whether it's this subject or any subject that goes against your belief system, you better do something to get grounded with this information. Try to rationalize. You say, okay, this is that's this, okay, but it doesn't change the you. Anytime you get any information, it's not the you, it's the information. And so if you can somehow just stay grounded that you're you, whatever what that is, you don't change. Information changes, or the concept you have about yourself can change, but you are you, if that makes any sense. So I was listening. I just have my notes here. Let's see. Yeah, like this one thing I was listening to. Someone was talking about the DNA, that DNA is gathered, and that they use this DNA to make clones, and then they take these clones, or something they make what they call cyborgs as well. The cyborgs, to my understanding, are like a person mixed with machinery, or could just be a straight person, just person, no attachments of any mechanical device, okay? And that they sell these clones or cyborgs to ETs. And then I mean, a lot of this stuff, I heard something like that, but she went further. She said this one YouTuber who claimed that she was part of the super soldier, she was a victim of the super soldier thing, and they had kidnapped her at the age of 4. She mentioned about her former husband, and okay, yeah, let's get the dog down. See that? She's wants to go down. But they mentioned that she had what was called a handler that worked for the CIA. I don't know whether they were still in the CIA or an ex-CIA, but to my understanding, once CIA, always CIA, But the person warned them that her husband was going to be killed. And lo and behold, it happened a year later. He was to have a simple procedure, but he never came, he didn't recover from the surgery. And she believes that they took some of his DNA and she feels that they might have done this to him to make either take his cells and make it into a clone or a cyborg, or to take his soul and then take that soul and put it into another living thing, such as another clone or cyborg. And that sounds so wild. And that could make for someone to believe something like that happening. But I heard that before, about a year ago, I think it was. Another woman, her husband went through a procedure that he should have come out of, but he didn't. And what characterized this one, the earlier account that I heard a year ago, was that the husband, she maybe it was a month later after the husband's passing, and again, the military didn't want her to see the open casket, the husband's body in the open casket, everything's hush-hush. And when he had initially died, oh, you're not allowed to see the body, we have to examine it for, all these excuses. So she never gets to see her husband, And again, about a month after the husband had died, she was, outside, and then she sees someone like looking at her, at a distance, I think hiding behind a tree, and it looked like a husband. A wife would know what her husband looks like, But yeah, and I think the husband wanted to just have a last look at her before he was to be used for some government thing, that they could reanimate your body. And with this new information I'm learning today, that the government has these machines that could reanimate your body, bring it back to life, and also, bring your soul back into your body, or take your soul and put it into something else. But it's really something. So all these stories seem to be meshing together, the stories. And I think that's spooky, real spooky. And that the alleged Third and Fourth Reich, the Nazis, according to them, have perfected this, what they call soul capture device. That they could take out, let's say the person passes away, but they can take that soul out. And then they have it in some type of thing, and then they could at any time, I think they have 6 months to use that soul and put it into some other being, It just sounds ghoulish, real ghoulish. But they all seem to corroborate, of the stories. And it's a little spooky to hear and to even think that something like that is true. But I start to think, like, when my father passed away a little over 8 years ago, and he is former military, he did his time, but back then men had to go into the military, an enlistment. What do you call it when you have to serve in the military? But now it's not the case. So back then, guys had to be in the military, and it wasn't. It was during the Korean War. So I saw my father when he passed, unlike this other lady, but when he was to get a military funeral, but they didn't allow us. He had an open casket funeral, but when they brought the casket with him in it to the burial site, they said, well, you're not allowed to open up the casket. I'm just thinking, this is weird. I mean, yes, he had an open casket funeral, but why not there? It's not like it's. I mean, what's the deal? I had started feeling, I just wanted to see him one last time. That was just my logic, because it was starting to hit me that, oh my God, is he really gone? It was the first person that, in my immediate family to pass away, and that reality was hitting me hard. And I guess, I was trying to say, is this really happening? Is this real? Is he really dead? Even though I just saw him, in the casket. But they said, you can't open it and look at it. So why I'm bringing that out, sharing that, is that why? Why aren't you allowed? And I start to wonder, hey, is he really in there? What did they do with his body? Could someone switch? Because that you don't always see the casket. When they take that casket away, they could. I mean, I'm just really. I don't know. My imagination is getting wild. Yes, but you really start to wonder why certain things are said to do. And I'm wondering, was he really in that casket when they buried him? Do they take? I mean, because he's former military. I mean, he wasn't anyone high up. He did his 4 years. He got out. Never was involved in any veterans thing. But I just start to think. I guess because of that lady, those two women. But there's another reason why I start to get a little skeptical. And this is the real reason why I am questioning it. Well, I was told that it was a family member. And one day, this family member was, just doing whatever. And he heard my father's voice speak to him. And he dismissed it. That was just his imagination. And then the thing repeated it again. And he listened. And he took the message, to heart. And he relayed this story to me. And I said, wow, maybe, that we really do live on. I mean, even though I was or used to be a Christian, but I said, wow, maybe people really do live on forever, that this soul doesn't die, whatever. But and I believe that this person did hear the person's voice. And I know that, I heard that the government also has, or some, not necessarily a government agency, but people who could afford buying the device, is called voice-to-skull technology. It's this device that it just works with certain types of waves. I forget what do you call it. It could be microwave. And you just aim it at someone and speak into the device, and it sends the transmission over, bypassing the outer ear. And since it'll go through the skull, it goes inside the inner ear, the cochlea, which decodes information, which allows us to hear what we hear, but it sounds like it's in your head. And so I was thinking, was something like that being used on this family member for him to hear? But why? I mean, to my knowledge, this my father wasn't involved in a government thing, but I think there's a lot of secrets. I sense that my life growing up, that there's things more than what I know that I'm not privy of. This is just something that I perceive. And so I'm wondering, hey, what's going on? How was he able to hear this? Now, if someone is just so-called, spiritual, and why would this person come back and give that certain messages? And some of you might think, oh, maybe it was a demon. Well, what's a demon, and why would this demon want to talk to this family member and give this brief message and nothing else? Why? I mean, it's never happened to that individual before, So it's just having me question, hey, what's really going on? So I'm really wondering, was what happened to my father, was he reanimated? Or is it that when we pass over, that, we really do live somewhere else and could communicate? And if that's the case, where is this other? Where are they going? Where are they? Where are they living? Are they eating, sleeping? What's life like for them? It has to have an answer. It is. There has to be an explanation and another side to that other life that this person may or may not be living. There is an answer somewhere. So I guess because of that, I'm really wondering, wow, are these technologies really what's happening? Not just to my family, but your family as well. The whole world. Who knows, So that was something that I was curious about. And again, with this, there was another thing that I wanted to mention here. It's still in the same thought, but like, let's see here. I'm just looking at my notes again. Okay, well, this same program that I was watching today, they made mention about how certain agencies, government agencies, may exploit certain systems, certain family dynamics. Let's say a family member is an alcoholic, or into drugs, or some type of substance abuse, and they know that when a household happens, when they fall under that it leaves the children vulnerable, and it makes them act out, especially boys. And so the government might exploit that. And then they target them by, someone coming to them, a troubled, youth, and say, hey, we're looking for men like you who are strong and tough, trying to appeal to their machoism, and say, hey, we got this special military program, and you'd be great for this. Oh, we promise you this and that, and they say yeah, and unknowingly they might volunteer for this secret soldier program, and they get messed over, and so why I mentioned this is because, like I mentioned in earlier videos, within the Black community, or any community, not just Black people, but where I live, we have a lot of homelessness, a lot of broken homes, a lot of homes that have substance abuse problems, a lot of sexual trauma, big time. And so what happens? So you get a whole population of a bunch of Black men, or Hispanic men even, from the Caribbean, and they act out. Like in some areas you have what they call gangs and gang warfare, and it's that aggression, that strong male aggression. Or in some cases you might have strong female aggression too within these communities. And what if? See, I was saying before, like, why is there so much violence in black neighborhoods or so-called minority neighborhoods? Why? Why this aggression? And I get depressed and wish that, there's deliverance for the black community. I mean, you've heard me, you know. So then it hit me. I said nothing, like someone might say, oh, well, white people don't like black people, that's all, and they discriminate because they don't like black people. No, because nothing is wasted. Like this one politician said, never waste a crisis. It's just hitting me now that I think all this is by design, what happens in black neighborhoods or West Indian neighborhoods or Hispanic neighborhoods, that it's socially constructed to do just that, this aggression, and that these neighborhoods are being funneled drugs. What do drugs do? It messes up your mind and health, makes you aggressive, and etc. You see the evidence. You just go walking in any impoverished neighborhood in a big urban area like New York City, and you're going to see the people and their behavior, and they all seem to act a certain way, And but what if these groups, and which I'm starting to believe now, because to just say it's a blanket answer, oh, well, it's just racism. No, it's not just racism. Yeah, people don't like you, but people do things for a reason. And I'm so with listening to all these programs about how people could use science against demographics, or with women, against women too, that they're doing these things to hurt them and to make them super aggressive, and so that they could get out what the design is, the outcome. Jail. Now, what do they use jail for? Now, I think it's the 13th Amendment. See, when someone gets put in prison, and I think also including jail, see, this is a distinction between jail and prison. Jail, if it's, I think, less than a year, and prison is anything over a year. But either way, you're in custody, you're behind bars. And when that happens, that you become a slave, and that they can use you to do anything. And so I'm thinking now that the people in prison, any race actually that's in prison, but you notice in prison, most of the people in prison, percentage-wise at least, are black, okay? And so they're using their labor, cheap labor. And these guys are strong, so they could work longer, more efficiently, and you're extracting. So I'm thinking that's what's happening. You can also, maybe they're also using black people for the super soldier program. And I think that's a possibility. But when I'm listening to the people who claim to be in that super soldier program, that they don't see a lot of them in certain positions. I mean, those who are in the slave program, they find people of color. They didn't specify black, because someone to ask whether they're black people in there, but they said you have dark peoples who are clearly enslaved, but his position at this person, I think he drove spaceships, because again they said that the space program, even these secret programs, are run by Germans, and those Germans who were from the Third Reich, and now it's the Fourth Reich, that they are prejudiced. They don't like to see people of color. So you find positions um, compartmentalized, you know. So, um, so I'm wondering whether blacks are being abducted and being put into these secret space program, being the slave, you know. You can do it. If they're doing white, is it what? Someone's just going to just take white people and enslave them to awful things, to be a killing machine? No. As that politician says, never waste a crisis. And so they're exploiting the crisis within these black communities, or maybe even in your community. You know, they're going to extract everything, anybody, anyone. But I think that's what's happening. So it's really eye-opener that all this drama you see, you know, so you really wonder what the so-called civil rights movement of the 50s and 60s was all about. And the 50s and 60s, isn't that when they were developing the space program also? Okay. Somehow I gotta be able to, I want to be able to tie in the dots from the 50s and 60s, you know, because that's when all those, the riots and everything was really happening, you know. Yeah, somehow it'll probably come to me. You know, I just want to make sense out of history, you know, rather than just, you know, feel like a victim that, oh, you know, this happened to these people or that people, woe's me. No. Everything is being constructed, even the 1950s and 60s, you know. So, yeah, it did usher in the drug war, definitely. So I don't know how you could, you know, see, when you take the drugs and everything, it's going to mess up your body, your organs and everything, you know. So I can't imagine they're doing the organ harvesting if that person has a messed up liver or kidney from doing the drugs, you know. But it's something. Or maybe they're harvesting the souls, you know. They say they have an overdose. They grab. I mean, I'm really getting, my imagination is really ahead of me right now. But it's, you know, it's food for thought. See, if you have people that are really that sinister, that really devalue life, and especially black life, why though do they devalue black people, in particular in the Americas? You see that with, like, I mean, Latin America, what they call Latin America, they don't like blacks either, but most of the people there are either a black mix or a Native American mix of something, you know. Everybody there is mixed. And so that resentment against black people specifically is not as acute or evident as it is in North America, but it is a lot of racism in Latin America, yes, definitely. But they just historically approach the problem differently. It would be interesting to really find out what's going on in Latin America with regard to the secret space program, you know. Is it just something that happens in the English-speaking world? What about the Spanish-speaking world or the Portuguese-speaking world? It's really food for thought what's happening there. Again, the largest black population in the Americas is Brazil. And Brazil has some connections also with the Nazis escaping, and they went to Brazil and Argentina. So it'll be interesting what they're doing to the blacks there. Again, I noticed that there's little connection with the, you know, North America and Brazil. That is not a sharing of information. Well, part of the problem is the language barrier. English is spoken here, and then Portuguese in Brazil, and we don't know each other's language. So what I'm concerned is what's actually happening in the black or the mulatto community of Brazil, because Brazil has the largest number of black or mulatto population. Most of the slaves that were brought to the Americas, the bulk of us were sent to Brazil. And the second bulk went into the Caribbean area, all those islands. And then the last is actually the US, you know? So I think it's important to find out what's happening to the blacks or the mixed race people who live in Brazil. And what's happening to them? Are they being targeted or not? You know, I got to write a note about that. Yeah, I want to write a note about what's happened with Brazil. Yeah, I know virtually nothing about Brazil, you know. So it's something that was on my mind, you know. Yeah, because right now it's about connecting the dots, that you have events that are happening, and things happen for a reason. And it's just a matter of understanding why these things are happening, okay? The other thing I want to talk about, let's see. Oh, I wrote something here about body getting paralyzed. Like, they mentioned, like, with the UFO abductions, the so-called UFO abductions, it's also known in that community, or the super soldier community, that you have these technologies that governments, know about and are using to abduct people from their own homes and or even outside. And it sounds really wild, and I've never experienced anything like this. I mean, at least not consciously, aware of something like that happening to me. And that some of the people had mentioned in these videos that I've been watching that they get paralysis. They're in bed, and then something overcomes them and they cannot move. And then something happens to them and they get abducted. It sounds wild. I said, how could someone materialize or dematerialize? It's everything's solid. But according to some of these people, that it's happening. And so the body being paralyzed, I think, is a prelude to the abduction experience. And that these are abduction experiences, it's not necessarily a so-called ET, could be the government officials, I'm not official, but the people behind the government who are using this technology against the population for whatever reason. They were mentioning that in these videos that they target people, families, because again, some of these families, they have a particular DNA sequence that they look for. They mention if the person has Jewish ancestry, Native American ancestry, and I think they also mentioned Irish ancestry as well. And I guess those DNA things are compatible for doing the type of experiments that they want to do. So they target these families and they follow them throughout their generations and everything, and they get them when they're young, the kids, the offspring of these families, and they do these to split their mind. They traumatize them. That's why they get them young. They try to get them before they reach the age of 6, so they can, what they call, splinter the mind, and screw them over in basic terms, and so then they could shape them in the way that they want to, and sort of toughen them up and everything. I mean, it's if something like that is happening, if so, I mean, I don't know whether that's really happening, but I believe some of these people that they have experienced something like this, and I guess also why I'm making mention of that is because I'm wondering whether something like that has happened to me. And so my interest in this subject is a personal one, and that the more information I learn about it, the more I start to ask myself, because I had gotten one time paralyzed. I was like in bed. I mentioned this several times in different videos that I've done, that I was awake, I was, alone in my room, and I was being prayerful. I was praying to the universe. I was upset about something. I was just, I was maybe in my 20s, early 20s, and this phenomenon was happening. I just felt like a force on me, and it was starting to build up in my body. I said, "Why is this weird?" So like trying to shake it off, And I felt like even my mouth, that it was even getting hard for me to even speak. And I said, "Wait a minute, what is going on here?" I said, "I'm not going to be alone in this room. Something could happen. Am I dying?" I shook myself real hard to break out of whatever was happening. I ran out the room. It happened several times in certain, yes, not, days apart or weeks, or, months apart. It happened, I think, maybe 3 times or something like that. But it will only happen when I'm in this prayerful state, just talking. I did talk to a spiritualist about it, and the spiritualist said, "Oh, well, you're probably getting in a trance or something like that, and that's all. It's not a demon or whatever, blah blah blah." And but now, listen to these programs on this super soldiers, or those other genre, that maybe like when you pray, it's not so much prayer, but they mention about having what they call implants, and that if these implants are put, like let's say you go get a vaccine, they could put things inside the vaccine, something that like a tracer, or what we call the implant, inside the needle, and it gets in your system. And so when you pray, they say that we are all energy. Excuse me. So that we're all energy, and so when you talk, that is an energy, and maybe it could is attached to your mind or something, or kind of like record your mind, like a microphone. And when you talk, it's sending the information to somewhere else. Because why would it happen when I was in deep duress on something, I mean, really nothing like life-threatening, but I was just upset. I was a young girl. I was just upset about life or something. But it happened, and it only would happen when I was, alone in this room, and boom. So I think that's also why, when you start to think back, but by itself, it's just an event, and who knows? It's just a fluke. But I'm starting to really think it's more than just a glitch, whatever. Or maybe I was falling asleep. So no, I wasn't falling asleep. Something. See, you kind of know what's you, but then when something is being done to you, you start to wonder, hey, what's going on? So, yeah. And I remember that I was taught, like 5 years ago, I was taught, just I was in a good mood even. But then I felt like, I don't know, that something I felt was shifting in me. And it scared me. I guess because maybe I'm a control freak. When something goes beyond what you know to be happening, that's beyond your control, outside of you happening, you start to wonder, hey, what's going on? Um, yeah. So I think it was all tied in, and I notice now, like even now, all of a sudden, I feel like the base of my spine vibrating. Now, this never happened before. Now I'm more aware of it, and I'm aware of it. Well, the first time it happened was a year ago, last February of last year, 2016, and I had gone to this. What do you call it? It was to learn about having out of body. What do they call to have an out of body experience? Astral projection is called, and they taught us certain techniques. How to so-called move your energy, and that's so. When we were doing the exercise, that something started to happen in my body, the lower part, what do you call the base chakra area. And it was beyond what I was doing. I said, this is weird. I thought maybe the circulation, maybe I needed to move over, maybe the blood circulation stopped, because we were lying down for a while. But from that time on is when these events started to happening more and more, outside of my doing it. So I'm wondering what that is all about. Did someone had a, what do you call it, like being opportunistic when I was doing the moving of the energy and they just tapped on to me, or what? I don't know. So, but it's something that I'm aware of, and I noticed that it's been happening more, the vibration. And I mentioned in an earlier video that one time it just started to vibrate really intense. So again, I don't know whether it's what they call your kundalini, or is it some opportunistic being doing this? Is it the government? Who knows? But it's something that I'm aware of, and I notice that sometimes it starts when I'm watching something, or even like right now, So it's really weird. So I'm aware of it, and I guess because of this new subject matter that I'm learning about, whether it has anything to do with that. So I guess that's why I'm also doing this, Yeah, so there's two more things I want to talk about, and it's happened yesterday. And in fact, I went to videotape something, but my phone had low power to it. Like an event happened, and I had to take out my iPhone and videotape, and I thought it went on because I pressed the button for it to record, and I thought it was going, and then the thing turned black. It turned itself off. So, but I thought I had gotten some because it was on. But I see, like, the power. I think what happened was that it was too low a power to actually record. It wasn't enough energy in it to do the recording, even though it was just brief when the light was on. Because after the event, when I got home and recharged the phone and said, okay, let me see what was saved, and nothing. I thought maybe it went somewhere else on the phone and I just couldn't find it. No, it didn't record. Well, what happened to me yesterday, what I was trying to record, I saw it was two fighter jets going up the Hudson River. And the Hudson River, in New York City, Manhattan Island, it has a lot of traffic, a lot of helicopters, planes, you name it, especially helicopters. But yesterday I saw two fighter jets. And so I said, oh wow, that's cool. Let me take a quick video of that. And then I couldn't get to it on time. Well, I thought I got it, but just like the tail end, I think of it. But at that time also, I was the only one in this park area on the pier, and I saw these birds. These like I think that, yeah, ducks. And I thought it was amusing how they were all sitting down and everything. It was a large number of them. Just relaxing. And yesterday it was cold. It was 17 degrees Fahrenheit yesterday. And then I turned away and I just started walking. And then, you wouldn't believe this. All of a sudden, these birds came, a flock of, I think they're seagulls. And they have a wingspan of about a yard long. And I thought initially, they're just going to go maybe to a tree because there's trees where it was. No, they were coming to me. Pack. It was a pack. And then they started buzzing around my head. I mean, I had my hair under like a hat, I was wearing yesterday, and I think might be part of it. I was wearing those army jackets, those green, olive green things, and I had boots on, those Uggs, those light tan color Uggs boots. But I think the jacket in particular is the focal point. Now, if you live in New York City or any major city, you're going to see a lot of the people who wear those green thing, army jackets and stuff. A lot of them, they be feeding the birds, and I think they thought I came to feed them. Yeah, I kid you not. They were buzzing around my head. And I got scared for a moment. I mean, it was a pack of them. And I kept on walking. I thought initially, because the ducks was just sitting, the ducks never moved. And I'm just walking past. I never tried to, I want to respect the distance between me and the ducks. I don't want them to think I'm going to hurt them, whatever. But I noticed, I was looking at them. I thought they were really look cute and everything. I just was going on my way up the path, and then boom, and they were buzzing around their head. They got real close to I thought it was going to nip me in my head, all over. And then they surrounded me. I was surrounded by all of them, and then the pigeons also started coming. I said, "Wait a minute, am I the lunch?" I mean, I kept calm. I didn't run. And then I got my camera. I said, let me get my camera. You guys wouldn't believe this is happening to me. And I wanted to document what's going on. But I thought it went on, and then it didn't capture it. I was really disappointed. But I was starting to get scared at one point. And I said, oh brother, remember that movie, The Birds? That was an Alfred Hitchcock movie. But no, they didn't touch me, but they got real close. So and then they stopped. The birds went on the ground, sat on the ground, and then they just snuggled up. They I think they were all facing the same direction, But then some of the pigeons, after the seagulls stopped, and just sat down. Some pigeons came and they were following and circling me. They thought I was going to feed them. I realized the pigeons thought I was going to feed them. Yeah, that was something else. So, yeah, I wanted to share that. But, yeah, it could be fun. When something happens out of the ordinary, it can be a little nerve-wracking. But I wish I caught it, Yeah, I usually have my cell phone charged. But once in a while, like I I didn't take it out 2 days ago before I went to bed and charge it. I left it in my carrier, and so when I took it out the carrier, I thought it was, since it was off, I thought the juice was still be in there. No, it wasn't. It was dead as a doorknob, and yeah, and I wish I could have gotten that, and because I've never seen those many birds there. It was amazing, amazing. And what else? Oh, so I mentioned like initially about the jets that I saw fly up, but then today, I was still in my apartment, and then you hear a loud noise, like like a aircraft, plane or something, and so I look up, and I see a formation. It was the same type of fighter jets, but it was more than two this time. It was a formation. When you watch those military exercises, they go in what they call formation in a diamond shape, just like what birds do when they're flying from when they're going long distance. They go in that same formation, like a triangle shape, and they were speeding up north. And I said, wow. So I mentioned that about the jets because I'm wondering, are they preparing for something? So we saw the thing yesterday, there was two, and then now they have this formation. They didn't come back like yesterday with the two jets. They were going back and forth up and down the Hudson River. But today they just went north. They didn't come back, and it was loud. And even when you can't see them, I tried to I just remembered that I tried to videotape on my iPhone, but it was so. By the time I got it was so small. Maybe I might try to upload that video because it is on my iPhone. Hey, if you could see it, I can't see it, but it is what happened. And so I'm wondering, why are they doing this formation exercise? And I'm starting to wonder whether they're preparing for something. They know of something and they're preparing for something. I just hope that that's just my imagination, that they're just maybe having fun, whatever, I just hope for our safety, and I want safety for all of us. So I'm just letting you guys know that, they're doing this exercise, and it's almost the end of the year, and I just want us to be safe, So just be aware of what's going on, and let me know if you see it happening in your state. This is the New York tri-state area. Have you seen them in your community? So that's basically all that I am sharing right now, and that's all that I want to say. And this is. I just wanted to, share these things this Friday evening, and life is something. That's all I can say. So, you take care, and Spirit Journey is signing off. So be safe, be warm, and share the